What can be viewed? The prisoner of war missing in action dedication chair at the Wisconsin State Capitol. What can be heard? There's a tour going on. There are people filling the hallways with oohs and ahs about how great our Wisconsin State Capitol is. But what can't be unseen is the ongoing grief that families suffer who have loved ones still left abroad. I'm Bradley J. Burt. I'm reporting at the Wisconsin State Capitol for the capstone at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. We are here today to investigate Senate Bill 602, which seeks to fund $180,000 per year per session to the University of Wisconsin Missing in Action Recovery and Identification Project. What we seek is to understand the importance of why we must fund returning our Wisconsin service members home. And what we will find is that our public officials, the senators who introduced this bill, care that much that they seek to pass a bill that would appropriate $360,000 to the University of Wisconsin-Madison Biotech Center. On February 22nd, Senator Roger Roth shared his passion for the bill he continues to bring before public hearing at the Wisconsin State Capitol. The bill speaks of a family dynamic like no other.
Senate Bill 602 is our bill for the MIA Recovery Project, and it's to, for the first time, offer financial support to the UW system for the UW MIA Recovery Identification Project. It's never had state funding before. It's never had federal funding before. It relies entirely on donations from individuals, and then the university has been very supportive too in giving office space and staffing who work, kind of wear two hats, if you will, a lot of student volunteers and so forth.
Roth seeks recognition of the efforts of the University of Wisconsin Missing in Action Recovery and Identification Project at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Roth has spent the last two sessions seeking public support through Senate Bill 446 and 602, acknowledging the POW MIA issue of repatriating remains and bringing closure to families.
When they retell the story of the pain that the family went through, you can just see in their faces that just having the closure and just knowing what happened, it closes the loop. And that's what this bill is about, helping out these families. There are 82,000 MIA KIA since World War II. 1,500 in the whole United States. 1,500 from Wisconsin. 40 from my Senate district here in the Fox Valley. That's 40 families.
By March 15th, the news broke through the POW MIA community that the words spoke at Roth's hearing by Wisconsin Air National Guard Volk namesake Jerry Volk Berry, that her words had no lasting impact on the decision for the passage of the bill.
This has kind of gone through the ebb and flows of politics, and this bill's not going to pass this session, and it breaks my heart. So, for probably a variety of reasons. But we've introduced it now twice. There are, we've had generated a lot of media coverage on it. There are discussions happening all over the state centered on this. It's not all for naught.
Despite bringing closure to families and assisting student veterans with a program called Boots on the Ground, which helps them prepare for college.
But I'll tell you, it isn't the state of Wisconsin's responsibility per se. This is a federal issue. These service members, when they deploy in defense of the nation. There is, the federal government, however, is steeped as it is in bureaucracy and red tape. They're failing at this. So DPAA, which is charged with doing exactly this, going out and identifying and finding the remains of service members and bringing them home, they have a $130 million a year budget. $130 million. And I will tell you, from all the stories that I've heard from families and even from our congressional delegation, everybody knows that it is a mess out there, but nobody's been able to fix this. So while we're waiting for this to get fixed, I think it's wholly appropriate that the state of Wisconsin invests $180,000 a year
The mess Roth speaks of, for example, marks the 70th year the Volk family has waited for the return of their loved one, who is represented by Roth. His niece shares her testimony about the experience.
It's so valid to spend the resources that we can, and why we desperately need these resources to bring home these fallen service members, because until you've been through it as a family member, I really cannot emphasize strongly enough that no one should underestimate the pain of not having closure.
Closure, spoke of by Volk's niece, shares a story of a young man who grew up at Volk Field, who later became acquainted with the Volk family. The family's support drives Charles Kuznitsky's grassroots mission. The family believes his program will bring their loved one home.
When I started the project, in 2015, we started working on cases, and a family member approached us by the name of Jerry Volk Berry. Exceptional individual, kind of a family member now. But that was that aha moment when she informed me that Jerome Volk was her uncle and missing. And that, knowing, my childhood of being on that base and not knowing that that was named after a missing airman, it was the you're on the right path moment.
Kuznitsky's role as the director surveys crash sites for cold case investigation. The project converges a spectrum of resources, like a search dog mission mixed with artificial intelligence data collection, and a method of volunteerism while studying abroad. The mission breathes academic undertones.
When I talk about these academic backgrounds, the other thing that you're looking at is they're actually inspiring families. They're giving some type of closure for these individuals. So it's absolutely rewarding. Don't get me wrong, everything is rewarding in an academic environment. But we're working on field recovery, we're working on AI, machine learning, we're working in the field of anthropology, archaeology, biology, i.e. we're working with environmental DNA, ancient DNA. We're bringing these new technologies into the tool set of recovery.
Kuznitsky's War Room displays archive from World War II, whose program has noted 2 of the Rosetta Stones at the Ardennes Cemetery in Belgium, which represents those who are missing, placed at their monument, represents 2 of the missing his program brought home. The Rosetta Stones at the cemetery monument are the accolades of the program.
It's been pretty interesting research thus far. It's a crew that went down over what was at the time Germany, but is now Poland, and it's a pretty hot case at the moment. There's a lot of stuff flying around, and I've gotten to read a lot of different articles and information that's been sent my way from people within this group itself. It's been incredible this far. I think that's the best way to put it.
As for the 1,500 Wisconsin families Roth spoke of during interview, their strife and hope will have to wait another session. Meanwhile, volunteers and students like Yang keep putting in work despite the bill's outcome.
So it really gives everyone a very wide understanding of impact academically, because we don't discriminate against an individual just because they have a history background that they should be doing history. No, I want them in the field to understand the reason why it's important to perform history. And then on the biological side, we want those anthropologists and archaeologists to understand why it's important, so they will see and learn the reasons for that as well. So when we are working on a case, not just in the suite here or in the field, we make sure that those individuals have a flavor of every single one of those steps.
The investigation concludes Department POW MIA Accounting Agency's $130 million does not fund a working project with a proven track record. The Volk family believes Kuznitsky's program is a game changer.
But definitely the grief was so raw and the anger was so raw, and the lack of closure leaves all those emotions hanging open and doesn't ever let a family get to a resolution, that I think it affected the relationship that my dad had with his own parents after Jerry was killed. It affected my dad's sense of guilt and the burden he lived with, knowing that he did not have to take on the danger and make the sacrifice that his brother did. And he lost a brother. So he spent the rest of his life, as far as I can remember, searching for his brother.
As our interview came to a close, Kinzitsky and Volk Berry exchanged archive. Kinzitsky revealed to the Volk family of the cold case file his organization has started and the Bible-sized binder of their collection. His t-shirt featured represents the emblem of a World War II squadron.
So, whether you're a veteran or not, we all believe that we owe our whole existence to the fact that in this crazy world that we live in right now, and we just found out this week with Russia invading Ukraine, that this is how the world is. Bad people doing bad things. And we need to be a country that stands for something. We need to have men and women, which we do, willing to enlist and join our military to serve and defend our way of life. And our commitment to those men and women when they join and go downrange to fight for us, and some who die, our commitment to them is that they know that they will not be left behind or forgotten. And one of the ways that we can make that commitment to this next generation of Americans, which will be taking up arms, which will have to meet the threats coming from Russia and China, is to do everything we can to bring the men and women who have defended our country in past wars, to bring them home.
Oh, the restrooms, yeah. And I know the girls will take forever to come. Sure. Well, there's only like 3 or 4 nights.
Last week there was a sign saying that we could go up until 5, or is it closed?
No, it's open.
Because we went up and we tried opening the door, so.
And you actually got to the door?
Well, you know those like 2 doors side by side?
I've only been up there once.
We used the elevator and then we went up the stairs, we tried to open it.
On the 5th?
Yeah, because the elevator goes to the 4th and then we took a flight up to the